Well, overall in Idaho, we are having a significant challenge finding workforce across all industries. Our state has been facing simply from a demographic standpoint, a workforce shortage. We estimate that by 2026, we'll have about 105,000 new jobs created in the state, and we'll have 90,000 people entering our labor force during that time period to fill those jobs. A lot of people like to get really worried about the 15,000 person gap that we're going to have, where we're just simply going to have to attract new people to the state. But I think it's more important to focus on the 90,000 people that we are going to have and make sure that they have the right skills for the jobs. Construction industry, just like all other industries, are faced with these challenges, and quite frankly, the construction industry compounds the issues for our other employers who are looking to expand and grow their facilities. And so, whether it's new building construction or highway and road construction to access those facilities, when we have a challenge filling our construction jobs, it impacts all of the other businesses in the state. And talking to our Department of Transportation, one of our bigger challenges is getting people who are willing to travel to these remote areas of the state to work, for months on different projects. We've got, there's parts of the state that are, 3 hours apart, before you hit the next, real city. And so identifying people who are willing to, to temporarily move to those areas, trying to engage the workforce in those smaller communities is another opportunity, I think, for us, not necessarily a challenge. One of the, we have strong rural communities, and we have youth that want to stay in those rural communities. And so if we are able to connect them with jobs, they'll let them live and have their life experiences in those communities, then it's a win-win for everyone. We had a lot of good things going on. There's a lot of initiatives, a lot of workforce development efforts going on in the state. And so for us, it was simply connecting them. We didn't need to try and build something entirely new. We need to connect the partners, connect the initiatives that are already going on. As I mentioned with our workforce challenges, we don't have the luxury of just going out and finding people on the street that, need a job. They have a job. So we were able to work with, 4 different organizations that are reaching out to underserved populations. So impacted residents, corrections, veterans, and then we also have a fairly large refugee population in the Boise and Twin Falls area of the state. And so we want to make sure that those individuals are able to connect to sustainable wage jobs. We don't want to have a wrong door. We want somebody to be able to come in that's interested, wants a job in the construction industry, and to be able to say, well, you know what, your math isn't just where it needs to be, so we're going to route you back here and then bring you back into the system. So partnering with all of those different organizations, with the fact that our own Associated General Contractors has partnered with us to develop a construction basics course to attract people into the industry, we feel like we have a really solid recruiting pipeline for the project. When we have more job openings than we have unemployed people, we can't have people disconnect. We have to give them a pathway back in. And that's something that I've had conversations with employers about for the past couple of years, that if you're using a math test or something to screen people out, don't make that the end. If they look like they'd be a fit for your company, then let's get them to the right resources so that they can come back in. You may not be able to hire them today, but boy, if you can hire them 6 weeks from now and they have the math skills that you need, that's a win-win for everybody. Let's help give them the skills that they need. I'm not suggesting that an employer should hire just anybody off the street and that doesn't have the skills that they need, but if there's a gap, let's remediate that gap and make sure that they have the opportunity to bring those employees on.